I'm here with Christine Mayer, the incoming president of GAR Foundation and a member of Leadership Akron's board, and also a graduate of Class 24. And we're here at our new offices at Leadership Akron. And just wanted to pick your brain a little bit, Christine, as you head into a new role. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And what are, as you look at kind of what led to this achievement, what are some of the experiences that and people who've shaped your leadership in our community?
Well, clearly my Leadership Akron class experience, and actually that really was a critical career building and network building experience for me in the Akron community a handful of years ago that has led to relationships that I continue to draw upon on a very regular basis. So that's been critical. As well, my long-standing mentoring relationship with Rob Briggs, the current president of GAR, who has been a mentor and a teacher to me for multiple decades now. So that's kind of come to fruition over a long period of time.
Great. So one thing Andrew Carnegie said was that one of the toughest things in the world to do is give money away intelligently.
I agree with
and,
that.
As you come into your new leadership role at GAR Foundation, how do you approach grant making so it's done astutely and effectively?
Well, I think one thing that we have going for us is several years ago we engaged in a really comprehensive strategic planning exercise that has given us a strategic framework we use, because we are inundated, as you would imagine, by requests from organizations doing really great work. And in order to prioritize and to make the hard choices that we have to make, we use that strategic framework to sort of assess how things are going to advance our highest priorities and to advance the mission of the foundation. That said, a strategic framework can only sort of take you so far. There's also the overlay of experience and relationships and community connections, which is something that you get just from being in the community and talking to people and learning about the work. So our program staff will continue to draw on all of those relationships and networks to really understand how the work is happening in the community. And we're going to try some new interesting stuff next year as well, I think, with respect to getting our grantees together, listening to them, learning from them, communicating their work, telling their stories, things like that.
Great. So perhaps the foundation's work that's going on now to help arts organizations that are grantees learn about models from other communities is a bit of a sneak preview for the growing role of the foundation.
You could say that, yeah.
Great. This isn't in the script, but
I don't even have a script, so
oh, good.
It doesn't bother me.
But one of the things that you mentioned triggered the thought for me about, there's always this balance of, being strategic and having priorities as a foundation, but also responding to what's happening in the community. So how do you balance that proactive, reactive dynamic as a grant-making institution?
Yeah, that's a daily challenge for us, especially because GAR is one of the only sort of generalist, place-based foundations in Akron that supports grantees working in a variety of different areas and really is a very long-time trusted partner of a lot of nonprofits. So if we were to just sort of change our mind and do something totally different, the implications of that for the community would be significant. So there's a lot of value to those long-standing relationships and kind of patterns of giving. That said, we have to have our eyes and ears open at all times to be nimble and to jump on new emerging opportunities, because some of those things need a little wind in their sails to get going. So we try to, we have a really careful budgeting process. We try to sort of budget to have some dry powder for when those kinds of things come along. And as well, increasingly, I think you'll see us finding ways to create incentives for our longtime current grantees to experiment themselves with how they're going to do things differently, more efficiently in kind of the new normal here. So I think we're going to try to stay the course and be a reliable funder that we've been, but as well really push people to innovate and to find where their path is heading in the new economic times.
Great, it's exciting. So there's been a lot of continuity at GAR, and the transition from Rob to Christine has been very smooth, and yet each leader kind of puts their own stamp on an organization. So what do you hope or anticipate might be some of the hallmarks of your tenure, maybe in a decade or two?
Well, one thing that, a seed that I think Rob planted and that I hope to water and feed and encourage very, very intensively in my leadership will be having two-way relationships with the grantees. I mean, in sort of the olden days, foundation work was just, the grantees were treated almost as supplicants. They came in and a check was written, and that was a very transactional kind of behavior. And I see a huge amount of value in having more of a two-way relationship and communication with grantees. So I would hope that a hallmark of my leadership will be that grantees feel that GAR always has an open door and is really not only listening to their suggestions but acting on them and being a really creative partner. I think we can do some new stuff that much of it is low cost and pretty easy to do. We're just sort of well positioned to connect people in different ways. Using groups like Leadership Akron, which are the primary connectors in the Akron area. So I think you're going to see more of that two-way communication and creativity.
Great. One thing I remember Rob saying to me when he was our program officer on our Leadership Akron grant was that, regardless of the outcome, there was a commitment that, whatever applicant was under review, that it would be better off by the end of the process. And certainly building on that ethic of, not so much transactional, but a relational, partner-oriented enterprise of shaping the community.
Absolutely, absolutely true.
So we're proud to call you a graduate and a board member of Leadership Akron. How have you seen the impact of our work and Leadership Akron's mission in both as a funder in the community and also personally as a graduate?
Well, as a funder, I see Leadership Akron on the board and on the staff of almost every grantee that we interact with at GAR. So really the footprint of Leadership Akron's program in the nonprofit community here just can't be overstated. It's pretty amazing. And when you think that all those people who are now fanned out across the community and populating all these different organizations have received the kind of high quality training and experiences that Leadership Akron provides, I think that's sort of the multiplier effect that we see from the funders' perch. On a personal level, I still have a lot of really great friends from my class experience, and as well when I interact with some of my classmates at the organizations where they work that maybe are funders with us, it kind of greatly accelerates this process of leveling the playing field and having a colleague to colleague kind of interaction, as opposed to the olden days of philanthropy where it was a one-sided kind of a dynamic. So I think where I walk into Boys and Girls Clubs and I see my classmate Teresa LeGrare heading up the work there, we just automatically have sort of the rapport and the respect for one another to have a really great open dialogue, and that happens an awful lot of places.
Great. Well, that's certainly what Leadership Akron is all about, is helping leaders cross boundaries in ways that are relational and developmental for them and our community as well. And really appreciate how you exemplify that, and thanks for taking a few minutes to chat as you head into a new role.
Sure. Thank you for having me.